Well, good morning again, everybody. I'm going to do a demonstration today on how I make my coasters. I always work with Slate. I haven't used ply yet because I like the rustic finish to this. I think this is a nicer finish and nicer quality. Just to explain about Slate coasters, is that when you receive them, they are in the natural slate. So to work with your napkin, you must have this side completely painted white, because then it enhances the napkin. So another thing with slate coasters is that not one particular coaster will match another, meaning the napkin will, of course will, but the type of coaster or the type of slate that you get, you will get them where they could be thick one end and thinner the other. In between here you could have like a ridge, but that is the whole point of slate coasters. They are rustic, they are very cottagey style end result. That's what you really get with these. So when you get your coaster, always paint this side. I always give it 2 coats. Make sure you go right across the edge here, make sure it's all filled in nice. End result is always best if it looks perfect to start with. Now the back of the coaster is just as important, because as a finished result you want to be able to look at something and go, well, actually that looks nice on both sides. So on the underside you have these lovely cushioned 4 feet. As you're painting this side, you're liable to get paint on this side, whether it's from your hands or whether it's accidental from the brush. It's inevitable, it will happen, especially right around this top edge. So what I do once the coaster is dry, I then make sure that I clean the underside with plain nail varnish and a cotton bud. So I give it a good wipe over, which will leave the slate slightly chalky looking. You then get a cleaner cotton wool bud, dip it into some water and give it a wash over, then dry it with a hairdryer, then you're ready to go. So now we will start. I will halfway through, or as I go along, I will pause the video so you're not sitting there waiting for me to finish what I'm doing. But in a way, really, I do like you to see the whole process, and you know roughly how long it takes. So the napkin I'm working on today is this little sweetie, because I do love donkeys. So I've already cut out my square that I'm going to be using. So put that one away, which is this little one here. So what you do, you line up the picture that you actually want to have displayed on your coaster. So as you line it up, you just push down the edges, and then you get a rough idea of how much of the napkin you have to remove. Well, that to me looks actually just perfect. Once you've got it lined up and it looks straight, just get hold of the whole thing, napkin and the coaster, and gently pop it over. Now from this angle you can see whether the coaster is straight or not, so you just maneuver it. So that one only needed a slight maneuver. So that's now what you're going to be starting with. So for this next part of the project you need water, and you need 3 brushes. Now I have my favourite brush here, which is very nice and soft at the end. That's what I apply all my glues with. This brush, which is quite hard at the tip, and it's a very short brush at the top, and that I use for helping to sort out the sides. And then this little buddy here, that is a cute one, which I actually use for taking away the napkin that I don't need to use. So let's get started. So dip into the water. Don't use too much water, because as you know, water on napkins, it'll make them ride, meaning it'll soak up too much to what you don't want. So what you do gently, I'll show around this side, is you go onto the napkin that you want removed, and you just go all the way around the edge, right the way across, because you can always go back and tidy up. So once you've got that edge all nice and wet, you then very gently pull it away from the sides. You will have bits that will overhang, but really don't worry about those for now. Keep your left hand supported quite tightly down onto the slate coaster, because if that suddenly slides, you're going to find that your design is going to be wonky. So go all the way around carefully, even though it's coming away quite nicely because the napkin is wet, you still can tear your napkin. Go all the way around. Now this edge here is quite small, so I didn't need to take too much off that one. So when you get these edges where you've got the edge of your original napkin, it's always nice just to make them a little bit messy, so pull away some of the napkin and it just gets rid of that hard edge that you can get. And then we do the bottom, again supporting the slate, keeping the napkin in place, and the water will travel pretty quickly along this napkin, so don't sort of hang about too quickly to remove the wet part of the napkin. So we just go all the way around, nearly finished. It's quite difficult to do something at speed when you're videoing. So that's that. Get rid of all these little odd bits that we don't need. So you got this part. Now we turn it back over, and there you have the napkin ready to go onto the coaster. So just to demonstrate, that is roughly what we've got so far. Now we go to the nightmare part where we have to separate. Oh, that's my budgie deciding to disagree with what I'm saying. So when you're trying to separate the three parts of the napkin, as you know, we have two white ones at the back which we need to remove, which then brings this main picture which we want. That is the one we want. So it's a very, very thin layer. So to separate them, I normally give the napkin a bit of a rub to try and smoosh up those sides, and then hopefully separate. And this is the part where a lot of people are thinking, come on, you're going to separate it. It's always a way when you're actually doing it while people are watching, it doesn't want to work. So bear with me, I think we are nearly there. Yep. So that was the first layer that you saw that I took off, which is this one. And here is the second layer. Now when you rip the second layer, sometimes when you do it, the two layers will actually come off lovely. But it decided not to do that with me today, so I've now got the second layer that's coming off now. Be very careful as you do split it, because you could then rip this part of the napkin, which is what we're going to use. So we have this now all ready to go. Now we use our Mod Podge, which is this one. That's a normal good base. It can be done as a top coat as well, but because we're doing coasters, the top coat, top layers, which have to be about 3 layers, must be of a heat resistant. Not for, you know, fire or anything like that, but the thing is, if you don't have those 3 layers, you'll find that your coffee cup or tea will get stuck to the coaster. So you do need to have this proper coating. So I will show you that when we get down to it. So that's our Mod Podge ready to put on. Now again, line up the napkin so it looks straight and it looks as even as you can possibly get it. Once it's in that position, put your left hand down just to support the napkin. Bring up the front and just hook it with one of your fingers. It's quite easy. Then put your Mod Podge base coat on first. Now don't put too much on, it's not necessary. If you put too much on, you'll find the napkin is going to soak it up, and then you're going to end up with lots and lots of creases, which you don't want. Once you put the Mod Podge on, gently put your napkin down and very gently just follow it out to the edges. Don't play with it. You play with it, you can rip it. The other favourite tool, if you remember, we use is cling film. Put that over the top. Now once the cling film is over the top, yes, you can play with it. You can really smooth it down, make sure there's no creases, which you can clearly see as you look through the cling film. This is where the little tiny stubble brush comes into hand. And I go all around the edges of the coaster, making sure that the napkin goes into all those little creases. Because that's another thing that Slate provide. Loads of little creases, but that's what makes these coasters look so pretty. So that's the top bit. Now with these, which is going to be different to what I do with my candles, I'm not going over it with a hairdryer after every single bit because it's quite small and it's not really necessary, but I can see that's lovely and smooth. Now bring up the base, pull that back, preferably hold it with your finger, oops, and then add your bottom half with Mod Podge, and remember, not too much, and always do your sides, always do these sides. Right, same again. We drop the napkin down and very, very gentle with your fingers, smooth it out. Again, don't play with it. Cling film straight over the top and then smooth out with those fingers. Really get them working in. Don't go back and forth. One, it doesn't get you anywhere, and two, you are liable then to break the napkin. So gentle but firm. Small brush again and go all round these edges. Make sure these edges are in and it's going into every little nook and cranny of your slate coaster. Some people do these slate coasters and they actually have the picture sitting right in the square at the top. Personally, I don't like that finish. I like to go all the way around the sides because it actually gives them more the impression of a bigger picture. So move that away. Now on this final sticking down bit, we are going to use a hairdryer. So we're going to pop that on, have it on a medium heat, and very gently with your finger smooth over the top. Doesn't take long for that to actually dry. So there is the start of your beautiful coaster. As you can see now on the back, we will have bits that are overhanging, like down here, but we will come down to those once these edges are nice and dry. So now we're going to go to actually putting the top coat of the glue on now. This is the one set of the sealant that we're going to go through the process. Stay with the Mod Podge. Now work on the sides first before you touch the middle of the slate. So go in one direction, not up and down, one direction. And one direction. And remember, not too much Mod Podge. One direction. One direction. Don't go up and down because you will get a tear. And again, most importantly, don't play with it. You've done those sides, now we're going to dry them. Now we've got the sides nice and dry, we're now going to go on top of the coaster. I hope you can see. So, this process you can go up and down, but the quicker you can get this on, the better in a way, really. Well, I say quick, I mean, don't go Speedy Gonzales, but, you know, put it on quite quickly. On the last smooth out, go in one direction, which is down. Again, don't play with it, because as you can see, if I can bring that closer, you can see there's quite a lot of creases. So, those creases, we now again use the hairdryer, and that will then smooth those creases out. You can tap it, and your finger isn't stuck on it. That is the time to just gently tap down those creases. And then you can smooth your finger up and down to get that lovely finish. Alright, now when we're at this point, we're now going to clean off these sides. So double check the sides, and like I say, the underneath is just as important as the top. So there's a few bits here that are actually sticking over. Because I've stuck this edge down, makes it a little bit easier to pull them away. You can cut them or you can pull them. I actually like to pull them. So there's one little one there, I don't know if you can see it. You can just see him sticking up, little guy. And we'll just remove him. And then we go down to the others, which are down here. Pull this off gently. If you don't glue before you do this process, again, you're bound to rip the sides. of the coaster, and you don't want that. Sometimes you can get a napkin that's quite white on one side, and the colorations do vary, so it doesn't matter if you do rip into it, because it actually mixes in with the rest of the napkin and the colour that the napkin is putting forward. Let's just do that end. Oh, he's been a stubborn little one. There we go, got him. Right, so we clean the underneath. Now we're going to do one layer to start with of the finishing sealant. And this one I use, which is the wax finish varnish, and this is the one that's heat resistant. Again, between Mod Podge and any sealant or any type of Mod Podge glue, always rinse your paintbrush off. So now with this particular sealant, it goes a long way, so you don't really need much to start with. And because we've done one sealant on here already, you don't need to worry about any creases. So we go once around the side. You can now at this point go back and forth. It's entirely up to you, whichever way it is that you feel comfortable. And you do not have to take the hairdryer to that particular bit, because we know that it's already been sealed once. Now we go up and down. And like I say, this goes a long way, so you only need a little bit at a time. Just make sure that your final application that you do now is that you go in one direction, ready for drying. And then we put another application on. And normally with this particular sealer, I like to do 3, maybe 4 coats, but on this demonstration I will actually do 3 coats. So make sure we bring that down. Now you'll find, oh sorry, I'll tell you when I finish using the hairdryer, other than shouting over it. Right, you'll find as you're applying these layers that obviously it's like anything. If you're layering something, you're going to see the layers appear. This is something that obviously we can't avoid. You want to have safety, but you also want to have the fact that you don't want to be losing your cup of tea on your, or coffee on your lap. So yes, it is safety reasons. So you'll find once you finish the project, once you look at it, sometimes you can actually see the lines, or you can see where the final sealant is. Again, that's something we can't avoid. Rather have it like this than not at all. And of course, this is the difference between having a photo done and having it professionally printed into the Slate coaster, whether it's a Slate coaster or a melamine, whichever, wooden coaster. This is the difference. So that's all the coats I'm going to give this one. Right, now, as I say, there should be one more coat put on there, 3 coats, but I'm going to leave it to 2 for now. But on the correct side, when I'm selling these, they have 3 to 4 coats. So that's your front, and that is the end result, which I think this particular napkin is so cute. Now we're going to work on the reverse side. Like I said, the reverse is just as important as the front to make sure it looks tidy. So I'll whiz it over, and as we say, we've already cleaned it off. But just to give those edges just that extra bit of security, when it's being used all the time, people picking it up, we don't want any of the edges pulling away. We want to have a good quality finish. So with the same sealant, the heat sealant, all I do is I just go round these outer edges and I just bring it round like so. Follow it all the way round, which is helping to smooth the napkin down. Even though it's already down, we just like to make sure that it's definitely down, and also this underside looks nice as the end result. Now this sealant is a clear sealant. So as you can see, it has like a bit of a trail to it. This will disappear as it dries. So that will be what your back should look like. So it's nice and clean, and you've got those edges which are sealed off. Once this is finished, like this one is, it normally takes about a week. I like to leave them for about 2 weeks to cure. Curing means it actually helps the glue to harden up. It needs the 2 weeks for that to actually happen. They can be used between that time, but to be honest with you, so you don't get any hassles or problems with them, it's best to leave them for 2 weeks. Some people don't, they leave them for a week. I normally keep mine next to my fire, so actually, to be honest, they are ready within a week. I made this one earlier, which again is a lovely little one. Now, like I was saying, finishing off the back of the Slate coaster, you get natural marks and natural lifts in the back of the coaster. I don't know if you can see that, but this one has quite a big ridge across here, which luckily hasn't shown this side, but sometimes you will get it across there. I think there is one actually. Yes, it's down the bottom there. But that is the whole point of having a rustic cottage type Slate coaster. So that is basically it. That's how I do my coasters. You can do the large dinner set plate settings exactly the same way. You can add anything onto these coasters. So things like photographs, personalised items, personalised wordings. This is something that I'm working on at the moment that I will be introducing. But for the time being, I'm going to carry on doing these. And I will put a post up once I start doing the photography side. And obviously I'll share that with you, and if anybody wants to have coasters done or anything, then you just give me a shout. So that's it, folks. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I didn't bore you, and I'm going to now crack on in my lovely work area here, and I will speak to you soon. You take care now, guys. Take care. Bye bye.